I live nefariously through romance animes. I think I said that right. But before I get into one of the first major topics that I want to talk about when it comes to the fragrant flowers blooms with dignity is that romance animes have an absolute special spot in my heart. And the reason being is because I think most of us, not all, but I think most of us desire companionship. We desire to be loved, cared, and to receive some form of affection from someone else. And I think animes like this really resonate with a lot of people of all different shapes and sizes, because I think it really shows just how beautiful and heartwarming something can be, how something even so simplistic can be so endearing. You can be encapsulated from, you can just fall so deeply in love with a series like The Fragrant Flower. And that is why a lot of shows like this resonate with a lot of us, like potentially you watching the video and including me as well. So of course, me being one of those people that absolutely loves romance animes, and I always look for these types of romance animes, every anime season that crops up, and even sometimes when looking for old classic romances to either find new hidden gems or even rewatch old hidden gems, I always a lot of the times fall back to romance animes. Yes, I'm absolutely an isekai junkie, but romance animes always have a special spot in my heart, and I think it's because I think many of us yearn and kind of live through those romance animes. Even if they're in a school setting or a college setting, we all sort of look at those and we kind of reminisce and we kind of have that desire of like, we wish we could have that, especially for many of us that are in the single category. And maybe in the future, maybe I will be in a relationship, maybe I won't be. But when looking at the past, for me, this is why I love romance animes, because they're so pure, they're so innocent, they're just so heartwarming, and seeing the gradual build up from the two characters first meeting to actually finally falling in love is one of the absolute gems that I love about when it comes to Japan and romance series, especially stuff like The Fragrant Flower blooms with dignity. This is one of those series that really encapsulates the pure essence of love. So, of course, the first thing that I want to talk about is the actual setting of this story, where it is basically two schools that are right next to each other that seem to have a massive rivalry, this sort of rift between the two. And being that the anime only covers ends around chapter 37 to 41 of the manga itself, where that is the final episode, what it adapts is 47 to 41. What is covered in the actual manga itself doesn't delve too deep into the rivalry between the two schools. Not much is known about it, other than there is clearly some history. There is some build-up tension between the two schools to lead to an all-girls school having a lot of hostility towards the school that is next to them, which is where these boys are at, which leads into that first sort of confrontation of when you realize that is when he is the main love interest, or the main male protagonist is outside the front. He meets his love interest, and there is this instant sort of issue going on right away. There's this instant tension being built because another character rolls in, instantly gets in between them, and assumes the worst. There is clearly a perception being built that this school, where these boys come from, is delinquents, miscreants, trouble is the simple way to put it, is that there is clearly an issue between these two schools. But the thing is the anime doesn't delve into that, and clearly, if you read further, you will find out where that goes. Straight away, the anime itself gives you an idea that there is something going on, that there is some rivalry, but it doesn't explain it straight away. What's the main focus is the love interest between the two, building the blocks of this relationship and how they first meet and how they get acquainted with each other on a much more deeper level, so that there is a reason for them to constantly see each other, other than it just being a simple, the girl walks into a cake store, has a couple of cakes and never returns, but instead desires to continuously come back to meet this individual, and finding out where the schools are gives them another way to connect to each other. So the anime does a great job at giving you reasons for these characters to see each other. It's not just a wrong place, wrong time, once off, and then do it multiple times. No, it doesn't do that. It is a reasoning, it's a build-up, there's misunderstandings, there's confrontations, there's desires to want to find each other and actually talk to each other for whatever those other reasons are. Because of the hatred and the distrust that goes on, the divide between the two schools, it makes that relationship instantly difficult for them to have. And even the boys themselves, they have their sort of disdain towards the girls' school because of the way that they're treated. So it kind of like builds on those blocks of being like, well, those girls treat us this because they just assume we're bad, so we're going to assume they're also bad. And so breaking that barrier down is something that the anime delves into throughout the episodes. I see a lot of people refer to this anime as a slow burner. I would actually disagree with that, because for me, when I see a lot of romance animes, I always notice that some, especially with the ending of the actual season itself, where they finally say, yeah, I'm in love with you, and they both actually admit to each other their feelings. A lot of romance animes can take up to 3+ seasons before any major development is even made. It's like at the end of a season 1, there might be some sort of hand-holding incident, or maybe there's a fireworks and there's a little kiss on the cheek, or something very simple that might build the building blocks. And then even after that, many of those romance animes will backpedal on that. They'll have some form of, oh, we've made some progress, we've made 5 steps forward, but now we're going to go back 3 more steps and start all over again in the next season. And so it does feel like a lot of those types of romance animes can be very slow. That doesn't mean that that's a bad thing, but when I see people say that this series is a slow burner, I would actually disagree. I would say this is a decently well-paced type series, because right away from the very beginning, it establishes a reason and a motive for the two characters, the two main love interests, desire to see each other. Then within the middle of the actual anime itself, it resolves some of the tension and some of the issues that would instantly stop them from communicating with each other. Clearly, later on in the story and in the manga, there will be new roadblocks to come up, but one of the first major hurdles to actually bring them together is removed, which is the tension of a friend being one of those roadblocks, and the misunderstandings of between the two schools on their level. Beyond that small circle that is them is completely different, but at least the first layer of that circle has been alleviated when it comes to the relationship between the two. And then at the later parts of it is actually them coming to terms with their feelings and actually confiding in each other and saying, yes, I'm in love with you. And of course, him being the first one, and then her coming to terms with that, and then also saying, yes, I'm in love with you as well. One of the things that I really love about how the actual anime approaches this is that at the very end of the season, it kind of goes through all the steps throughout the season that added to those layers of what made them realize and come to terms with their feelings for each other, particularly her, in how she sits there and is like, this is the first time I met him. He was so sweet to me. He was so nice to me. Then I wanted to go back there again, and I wanted to see him again. But he wasn't actually in at the front, so I was bummed out, so I needed to come back again. And so there's this constant build-up of, well, if I come back again, if I try and find him again, maybe there'll be that opportunity where we can actually speak to each other. She's desiring an actual connection, an actual reason to want to speak to him. And this is where I go into the idea of the first meeting, which is a concept that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to the idea of flirting or breaking the ice kind of thing, because flirting in itself can be seen in many different layers. And I know some people are going to be like, well, there's no real flirt. But what I mean by that is flirting to me is the way of breaking the ice between two individuals that are interested in each other. And it's kind of like a game of cat and mouse. They're trying to communicate to each other that they're interested in each other without directly saying that they're interested in each other. It's a very contradictory game of doing things, and that's why us as humans sometimes can do it very messily. It doesn't necessarily always get referred to as flirting, and in this case, it's one of those where it's like they're desiring to see each other, they're desiring to want to speak to each other, but they don't know how to communicate. And so it's very similar to flirting in that it is very messy, it is very weird, it's very cringy and awkward, and it always leads to misunderstandings where you try to say something to someone and you're like, how do I best communicate this? How do I try and talk to them so that they understand what I'm trying to articulate, but without giving too much away so they end up digging themselves a grave if, for example, the other party member of this conversation isn't as quite interested in you as you are in them. It's like imagining if you've met this girl for the first time, or at least met her a couple of times, and you at least want to show that you're interested. You want to actually get to know her more. Or, for her case, she wants to get to know you more, learn more about you. She thinks that you're cute, she thinks you're funny, you're nice, you're sweet, you've said some, charming things, and she wants to meet you more and wants to get to know you more. But how do you get that across without sounding too pushy or a little bit too weird or creepy? And that's the thing about flirting, is that flirting can be done in many different layers, but a lot of people see flirting as like very much overly bearing, puffing your chest down and being like, hey babe, wanna come back to my place? That's not necessarily flirting. Sure, it is in that big bubble, but a lot of the times flirting can be as simple as that awkward meeting of being like, hey, what are you into? Is this, why are you here? You like cakes as well? Or you like video games or mangas or light novels and anime? Like, you could be at a convention, you could be at a stall, and you could be just sitting there and you see her and you talk about some simple things. Oh, so you're into this. What other types of shows are you into? Try to break the ice, try to get to know them a little bit better, and then try and build on that of being like, okay, well, where do I go from there? Do I ask for a number or contacts or ask them out on a date? Like, I'm using a very basic story to give an idea of where flirting can start. It's the foundations of trying to break the ice and trying to communicate in as simple way as possible that you're interested in them. Sometimes some people can be a lot more overbearing, a little bit more pushier, while others can be a lot more gentler on it. There's those different scales, and that's why I think sometimes people see more flirting as on the extreme end rather than on the softer ending. But for me, flirting is all of it, is such a large broad spectrum that a lot of people only want to look at one side of that. And that's the thing about it, is that it's very awkward, it's very messy, it doesn't work out the way a lot of people hope it to be, which is the exact thing that this anime encapsulates. It does it beautifully, this sort of first meeting and how it turns in awkward. The second meeting, not exactly goes to plan. The third, the fourth, the fifth, it continues to be this sort of game of cat and mouse and trying to communicate feelings in the most awkward way possible, because here's a reality check. We're all awkward in some degree. We all sometimes have an issue communicating and articulating ourselves when it comes to how we feel about each other or feel about other people in general. That gradual realization as each time they're meeting each other again, they're coming to terms with their feelings, and that ice, that layer of ice between them slowly chipping away or melting, allows them to be able to see on the other side how the other person feels much more better. And once they both come to terms with it and also come to terms with their own feelings, they can finally then confide in each other and say, yes, I'm in love with you. I want to be with you. Take care of me. And that is the thing that I absolutely love about what this anime tries to do. It is so pure and absolute innocent in how it goes about falling in love. But it does it in such a well done way that it is very realistic on how people communicate. But of course, the other thing that the anime does delve into is something that I like to refer to as the joy of smiling. A major character arc for the main love interest, the main male love interest, is him coming to terms with loving himself, or at least being happier within himself. It's something that is very much delved into throughout the anime, and this is what I mean. There is a multitude of layers that have been delved into. It's not just everything is all focused on romance itself, while there is other components to the romance, not just between two characters, but there's other romances being hinted at. But there is also major character development within themselves, and one of those is his, where he is coming to terms with actually feeling joy, him actually being happy, him making friends, and the friendships. It's the friends you make along the way kind of joke. But that is a major important part. And something that his mother talks about is that he never smiles, but then he finally starts to smile. When he finally finds someone that gives him joy and gives him purpose and gives him something warm and fuzzy inside, it makes him smile. And that is one of the most beautiful and most heartwarming things about romances themselves, is when you finally do fall in love with someone, it fills your heart with such warmth, such joy, such purpose. And it makes every day just that little bit more bearable, especially if you're having, a hard life and you're struggling. But having that love there, it gives you the courage, it gives you the determination, and it gives you a way forward. And that is something that I feel like is quite prevalent there. And of course, it's not just the love itself, it's also the friends that he has as well that are there to support him. That obviously, they know how he feels about her. They're not stupid, or at least some of them are not stupid in realizing that, oh, he's in love with her. And they're not trying to push it, they're not trying to be awkward or try and get in between them. They're just letting him come to terms with it on his own and letting him discover those feelings in his own time without being overly bearing and overly pressuring. And that's the one thing I love about his friends, is as much as they can be weird and quirky and cringy and silly all over the place, but in their basic sense, they are the best friends that you could ever ask. People that are just there to support you through the highs and the lows, to really be there and show that they actually care about you, to go through the good times and the bads. And when you're trying to discover things on your own feelings, they'll be there to help you when you need it, but they'll also just be there watching and looking over you and making sure that you're not on your own. And they're not going to be interfering in something that they don't need to interfere. They don't need to be that obnoxious chick that's at a club and you're talking to a girl and you think she's really cute, and then a third wheel comes in and goes, actually, she's not interested. They're not like that. And even with her friend, she's not like that either. They let them come together. They let them grow and build in that relationship. And of course, some of them realize, oh yeah, he's in love, it's all right. Even the mother comes to terms with that. And that smile on her face when she realizes and sees the joy and the smile on his face. The joy that the parents feel because of his joy is so heartwarming. It's so just encapsulated. It's just beautiful. The best way to put it is absolute beautiful. When the parents see that their kid is happy, that's what brings them the greatest joy, is seeing him enjoying life. And the father, as much as he doesn't play a major role in the story, at least within the first season of the anime, I really love, at least for those moments, how he is portrayed. Yeah, he's got those black little things under his eyes and he's tired and he's worn out, but he enjoys what he does and he's passionate about making cakes. But the moment his son sits there and says, I'd like to learn how to make a cake as a birthday present, his father's just instant let's do it. Let's do it right now. Even though he's tired and he's worn out, he's like, let's do it. There's such passion, there's such love, there's such joy in him, not just in his hobby, but also him sharing that hobby with his own son. That is something that I really love. And when I think about that, I also think about the concept of people sharing their love and passion for things that they enjoy. That is something that I want to see more in people. People showing their love and passion for something and being able to share that with others. And that scene there is beautiful. The ability for his father to just be like, yep, I'm here to support you. Let's make a cake. Let's do it. And then afterwards, of course, he wants to learn more. So he's like, oh, well, I'm going to be much more harsher on you. The fun back and forth, the relationship. It is such a beautiful relationship between the father and the son, and even the mother as well. And that is another thing that I also really love, is the fact that there's actually parents there. It's not one of those where the parents just don't exist. That is something that is very heavily done in a lot of romance animes. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is worth noting on that the fact is that the parents are actually there. They're actually supportive. They're acknowledged within the story. And when the friends come around, the parents are there. It's not like the parents just go on a 60-year business trip and never return. They're there and they're prevalent and they're important in the journey of his growth. And that is what I absolutely love about the story itself and how it encapsulates the relationship, the building, and all these things in this beautiful pot that is the fragrant flower blooms with dignity. But with that all being said, and me talking about all the good stuff that is in the actual anime and the manga itself, the one thing I do want to talk about is a little bit of some of the negative, and that is the dub. I do not like the dub. I think the dub feels very awkward. It feels very janky. I do think some of the voice acting is very mismatched. It feels like the main female love interest is a 30-year-old woman inside of a teenager's body. The voicing doesn't work very well. And it also just feels very badly edited and chopped together. It feels like someone's just gone through editing software like what I did with this video and just kind of slapped it all together. It feels very disjointed and it feels very soulless. I tried to watch the dub. I watched it more for research purposes, and as soon as I had done my research with it, I did not want to continue again. I had to go back and rewatch it in sub because it was that unbearable to listen to. And I know there are some people that really love the dub. That's great. If you enjoy the dub, that's great. You enjoy it. But I do feel like the dub, just for me personally, really lacked a lot of soul, which was really disappointing because Netflix, the ones that are currently the license holder for it, made a big deal about delaying the anime and making sure that the sub and the dub kind of go together, and yet the dub was just lacklustering. Very lacklustering. But I think as far as the pacing, the art, and everything that's covered, it's beautiful. The absolute beauty of the art itself, the color palettes, it is just like, when I was going through the video and trying to take screenshots for thumbnails, I wanted everything. It was just like, I need everything, especially with the main female love interest, like just everything needed to be taken, because it was just like every moment where she's turning around and she's smiling and there's that such gentle, warm, fuzzy look in her face. It was just like, I need that screenshot. I need that for my thumbnail. I need this. It was like a kid in a candy store. Every moment the anime is so good at encapsulating the beauty of what the show is about. And I think it does an absolute marvelous job. The art is phenomenal. The animations is phenomenal. The music is phenomenal. And the pacing, I think, is well done. I don't think this is a slow burner in the general sense of how Romances is done, going back on that previous point. But I do think it really does build on the characters at a good pace. It's not like everything's thrown at you all at once, but it builds those characters. It builds that stuff in a well-paced manner within the actual first season of the anime itself. And again, the final episode adapts chapters 37 to 41 of the manga. So if you do want to continue on from where the anime ends off for season 1, then I highly recommend, again, you either start volume 1, which I would recommend the most, always start from the beginning. But if you really don't want to, start from 42 itself, if you have to. But I highly recommend this anime. I think it is absolutely beautiful. It is one of the top tier romances out there that I highly recommend, but it is very pure. It's very fuzzy. It's not one of those where it's heavy comedy. There are comedy moments in it, but it is much more the foundations of pure romance and building on what makes a good romance is. So that's why I highly recommend it. If you want one of those pure joy romance type series, then absolutely give it a crack, because I think it is, without a doubt, beautifully, it is perfect in what you want to get across. Like, no anime is perfect in my opinion, but in the sense of what you want is a pure, heartwarming, fuzzy, beautiful animations, music, characters, all the rest that you could imagine, this is perfect for you. This is what you want. So again, love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of the anime? What did you think of the manga if you have read beyond it, but again, without spoilers involved? So if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I will see you beautiful nerds in the next video.